Welcome back to Cabral House Call. I'm Stephen Cabral, board-certified naturopathic doctor, and today I'm answering your questions on a Total Wellness Tuesday. So if you didn't just tune into our previous show on how to fix a low mood and learning disorders, I highly recommend it. It was one of my favorite shows to date on essentially me just sharing a little bit about what I do at my practice, some of the labs that I look at for both children and adults with anything from anxiety to depression to panic attacks, feeling overwhelmed, kids with ADD, ADHD, autism, all of those specific things. Great episode. Worth your time, I believe, to check that out. Today, let's get into your questions. We've been getting more and more as the podcast continues to grow and we get more people into our community, which is fantastic. That, of course, is the goal, to keep answering your questions completely free, just to make sure that you always have a trusted source, an unbiased source, I believe, who's able to give you the information. And from what I've discovered for basically 20 years in this journey myself, having read thousands and thousands of books on natural health, I'm trying to get myself well as well, and then getting my degree in interning all over the world. So I'm always happy to share those answers and questions with you. And if you ever ask a question, I'll do the research myself. I know where to go. I know what to look for. If I don't have that, I'm going to find it for you. So please do ask. It's my pleasure to do that. So first question today is from Tiffany, and Tiffany asks, I have brain fog mid-afternoon. Is there anything I can do to get rid of it, and what could it be from? So not only is it a great question to start us off today on a Wellness Tuesday, it also is super common really across the board. Some people feel tired in terms of like lethargy or energy in their body, and some people it affects their brain more than others. And so again, it could be so many different levels. Like if you ran a hormone panel for your cortisol, you could see that you actually have what's called depressed levels of cortisol later in the day. So like at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And cortisol is kind of like your get up and go. It helps with that fight or flight response. It could mean that you're producing more of that stress hormone, norepinephrine, epinephrine, which is then going to tell the hypothalamus pituitary to signal the adrenal cortex to produce cortisol. And all that's just a fancy feedback loop to say, hey, it's time to produce energy. It's time to produce energy. And your body's kind of warming out, and it's worn out and it's not producing the cortisol that it should be. So that's one reason. Another reason is that too many people eat foods and food combinations at lunch that don't agree with them. And it takes a massive amount of energy to break down those foods. And think about it. If all of the energy is going to your gut, to your stomach and intestines, well, you're going to have less energy for your body and brain. So that's the easy fix. I wrote about this in a bonus report I wrote about before called How to Eliminate Bloating. Something to that effect. And one of the tips I gave was you need to go back to the previous meal you just ate a couple hours before and look at that meal. Like if you skip lunch, would you actually have more energy? And some people say yes. Well, then you can look at like there's something going on with your digestive system that you're either adding too much food at one meal, you're overeating, or you're eating the wrong foods. And you could do food sensitivity testing for that. Of course, that would certainly help. Or you could go back to just putting in like 1 or 2 foods or maybe 3 foods at most of that meal and say, do these foods work? And if they do, then great. Then you just change the variables and you just add one new variable. Like, oh, that one doesn't work because I got tired. So you can look at it that way. Another thing, a third thing, and I'm kind of going on with this, but it's a really important question, is that a lot of people have brain fog because they get a dip in blood sugar as well. So please make sure that you're not eating too many processed carbohydrates at lunch, that you have enough, if you're eating grains, that you're eating nice whole grain with some good fiber to it, or that you at least have vegetables at that lunch with a little bit of protein to slow down that digestive or glycemic spike in blood sugar, and that'll allow you not to have that crash at 3 or 4 o'clock. And the other thing is, if your crash comes every day at like 4:30, well, a half hour before that crash, have a little something to eat. Have a little something to pick back up your blood sugar levels and stabilize you for the rest of that day until dinner. All right, great question, and I hope that answered your question. Brendan, you are up next. Brendan is asking, what do you recommend for an upset stomach? So an upset stomach, this one actually was a very short question. Sometimes people have a long question. I kind of condense it so it doesn't take 2 minutes to read on the show. We do try to keep this around the 10-minute mark. So if you have an upset stomach, meaning like you just ate a food and it just didn't agree with you, well, there's a few things that you could do. One is you could do what I always recommend, and that's have a cup of hot ginger tea. Not a ginger ale, not anything like that has sugar in it, so that's only going to ferment more in your stomach. Not take Alka-Seltzer, not take Tums that are going to alkalize the stomach, because that's going to shut off digestion. But have ginger tea. Have something that's spicy. And then that will hopefully work up those digestive juices and burn up the food at a faster rate so that it moves through your stomach. Now, for some people, especially if it's not dinner time, they can actually have a small cup of coffee. Now, small is small, meaning like 6 ounces or 8 ounces. And that heat and acidity from the coffee coming into the stomach can actually strengthen the digestive system and help you digest better. I prefer people do it with an herbal tea, like the ginger tea. But if you're going to drink coffee anyways, don't drink it before your meal, which could give you that anxious, cortisol producing spike, and have it after your meal like they do so much in Europe. And that controls the caffeine adrenaline spike, and it helps with digestion. So Brendan, give that a shot. My other nice healthy suggestion is to use apple cider vinegar, Bragg's apple cider vinegar. Have 2 ounces of that mixed with a little bit of water if you'd like, and that is phenomenal for improving digestion. So I would say start with the ginger tea. Try the apple cider vinegar if you'd like as well. You can do both if you wanted to. And then again, I'm not recommending you drink coffee, but if you are a coffee drinker or you're out to a meal and immediately your stomach doesn't feel well, at that restaurant, you could of course ask for a small cup of black coffee. Nothing in it, just black. All right, third question today is from Jackie. And Jackie asks, my husband doesn't believe in natural medicine, but I want myself, my kids, and my family to be practicing it. Great question. I get this over and over in my practice. I see a lot of mothers bringing in their children. I mean, I see many men in my practice as well, but sometimes there is a little bit of a divide. And I do have to say, for all the guys out there, women in general, again, I'm making these nice general analogies, but I've been doing it long enough where I can make that analogy. Some men just aren't open to the possibilities of actually using something that's been around since the dawn of time and has been proven to work for their health. And I'm a guy myself, so hopefully I'm allowed to say that. But that's just the way it is. And so you just have to, this goes for any partner. It really doesn't matter who it might be. You could be dating, it could be a husband, it could be a wife. What I recommend is look to see what that person takes issue with. So some guys, we'll just focus on Jackie and her husband, is they don't believe it unless their MD said to them, oh, it's this medication, or their MD says, oh, there's no truth to that. Well, yeah, they didn't do any research. That's why, because there is piles and mountains of research, like literally mountains of research on any single vitamin or natural herb out there. Now, some stuff is made up, don't get me wrong, but if it's a functional medicine-based product, I can guarantee you can find studies on that. So if your husband is simply a data person, Jackie, I would show him the data. Show him the studies, and the studies are out there. Literally, if you type it in like magnesium glycinate studies for anxiety or whatever it might be, you pick the topic, and you'll be able to see all of the different studies that have shown that this works as well as the natural or the conventional medicine pharmaceutical base, and that it can be really, really helpful. Like maybe they're just a data person, they want to see that data, and then they see it, they're like, okay, well, that's difficult to dismiss because it was in the American Journal of Medicine, or it was in the New England Journal, or it was in, whatever it might be. And they're good with that. And then some people might just dismiss it, but they're kind of open to it. They're just not ready to take that next step. So you can just start using these healthy things with yourself and your family. They start to see the results, and they're like, wow, there might be something to this. And that's what happens so often in my practice, is that people get the results. And it's really hard to argue with results. And it's even harder to argue with results when I see there's just a lot of schools around me as well. So I see so many different children, and then they just say, hi, how did your kid get better? And then they recommend the next family, and the next family doesn't. And then eventually I've seen so many kids and they're all getting better. People are like, okay, there's something here. There's something going on. I don't understand it myself. And then they actually come in as a family and they listen to me go through the labs. They listen to me talk about the nutritional deficiencies these children have, the issues with their digestive function, stress on their body, whatever it might be. And they're like, okay, I get it because you explain it to me from a scientific standpoint or from a lab standpoint, like an MD might do or someone like that. And just keep in mind that it's our culture, right? So if you're always used to growing up with that in your culture, you just might want to hear it from that standpoint. And that's the issue that a lot of health practitioners have is they just haven't gone in depth enough to know the science behind it. But I know there's so many practitioners out there listening. I would recommend is just going back. You don't have to do all the research, but going back to looking at a lot of the research for what you recommend and be able to explain that just from a layman's perspective of how it works and why it works, because I do believe that you'll be able to then affect change to a greater degree and help more people. Yes, you're still doing great work, whether you're doing whether you're looking into the research or not, because someone's already done it and they're saying this is the protocol that works. That's fine as well. You're doing so much great work, but can you then explain it, maybe from a more science-based perspective? And that's always your prerogative, because in my opinion, our job is just to help people, right? Help as many people as we can, while at the same time offering solutions that are safe and have been proven to work. So, Jackie, I do believe that it just takes time. It took time with my own family, and I believe it will just take time with yours as well. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today on another fun Cabral House Call. As a thank you for tuning in today, I wanted to share with you the number one system my private clients in Boston and now all over the United States are using to lose weight, decrease bloating, improve digestion, eliminate skin issues, and increase their energy all day long. It's called the Dr. Cabral Detox, and without going into all the details right now, simply go to drcabraldetox.com and you can find out how my proven, simple 7-day system can help you lose weight and feel great. There's no hype, there's no marketing, and best of all, it's guaranteed or your money back. And as a thank you for being a listener of the Cabral Concept, I'd like to offer you $10 off your next 7, 14, or 21-day Dr. Cabral Detox purchase in the month of March. Simply enter the savings code MARCH10, all in lowercase, one word, when checking out. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to hearing your success story soon.